So this rule I'm going to talk about is actually just specific to Key Colony Beach. Key Colony Beach, Florida. It's right in Marathon. I don't know if everybody knows where it is, but it's right off the coast of Marathon. So it's not going to apply to everybody, but if you live in Key Colony, this is very important for you. Just came up yesterday on a project. The city of Key Colony is actually changing their rules. They already had the most strict rules on boat lifts, both cradle lifts and elevator lifts and size of lift, etc. But I was just talking to the building official. They're actually in the middle of changing their rules now. So historically, if your boat lift was over a certain size, it was over 20,000 pounds, you had to get a variance from City of Key Colony Beach, and you also had to have letters from your neighbors signing off on the project. You had to get their approval, submit those letters with your application to the building department, get on the agenda, go in front of the board, speak on the project, get it approved, etc., etc. They're actually changing that rule now. So it's not just 20K lifts. Now it's going to be any lift greater than 16,000 pounds is going to have to get variance approval and neighbor approval for your project. That's for all boat lifts, elevator and cradle lift, 4-post lift. On top of that, they're changing their rule on cradle lift specifically. So now they're saying that any cradle lift whatsoever has to get variance approval and neighbor approval from the board. The reason they did the 20K lift originally is because if you're over 20,000 pounds, it's a big lift, it obstructs people's view, people looking down the canal, your neighbor, etc. So they want to get you approval from the neighbors and then want you to get approved by the board. Now, I'll say that I've been through this quite a few times. I've never seen the city deny one unless a neighbor didn't supply the letter, or other neighbors, other people came to speak out against the project at the council meeting. But other than that, if there's no objections, I haven't seen the city not approve one. Where it's getting harder now is that they're saying any 4-post cradle lift, no matter what size, is going to need variance approval and neighbor sign off, not elevator lifts. So elevator lifts are only going to need it if they're greater than 16,000 pounds. But it's important to know that sometimes you can't do an elevator lift. Sometimes your dock may not be long enough, especially in the dead end areas of Key Colony. Those finger piers are pretty short, and the elevator lift has to be mounted to the dock itself. So you can't do them in some applications. You're stuck with a 4-post. And if you can't get your neighbor to give you that letter, then you're going to be screwed. So new rule coming out, something to watch out. Like I said, the other rule is still in place, the 20K or greater, and that's for any lift, but now it's going to be all 4-post cradles and elevator lifts exceeding 16,000 pounds. The reason why they do it for the 4-post cradles is they do obstruct more, I will say, obstruct more view than elevator lifts. They're typically wider and they stick way higher up above the dock than elevator lifts. Also, elevator lifts, the part that sticks above, like if your dock is here, say this is the water, the elevator lift only has a rail that goes up here. Where if this is your dock and you're doing a cradle lift, you have 4-post pilings that stick way up, and then one all the way out here that sticks way up also, so it obstructs a lot more. I don't necessarily agree with the rule. I think it's pretty restrictive. I don't understand why they have to have rules on these that nobody else does, but that tends to be Key Colony. So if you live in Key Colony, very important to know, if you're thinking about a project, you might want to get it in before they do that, or design your project with an elevator lift so you don't need it that's less than 16,000 pounds. So something to think about.